Alright, so today, we're gonna be checking out a brand new game called Brown Dust 2. They actually reached out and gave me access to the final closed beta test, so I was able to try out the game early so that I can make this video, sharing my experience with the game, and also showing you what this game has to offer. But before that, what even is Brown Dust 2? Brown Dust 2 is a high-quality 2D, turn-based RPG. This game has a very interesting combat system, which we will talk about later in this video. Not only that, it also has really good character designs, which I really like. So during the final closed beta test, I actually took this recording so that I can show you guys what the characters look like. Because the CBT was only open for a few days and I really wanted to try out the game a lot and test out some stuff. And I figured that since I don't have that much time, I might as well do a recording so that I can show you guys what the characters look like. And as you can see, they have a ton of characters, and the ones that I really like in particular are Celia, Sylvia, and Eclipse. So Sylvia just looks really good in my opinion, and I really like the weapons that she has. Not only that, her skills are actually pretty good. So this one is her beginner skill, and what this ability does is it will let you bargain with the shopkeeper for a potential 35% discount on items with a 55% chance. So you can save quite a bit of currency when you have this character. And then for her combat ability, this one is also really good, because whenever you use this, she will basically be able to counter the enemies, and at the same time, she is also decreasing the incoming damage by 50% for 4 turns, so that is overall really good. And another character that I really like is Eclipse. It doesn't even matter if she's good in combat or not, because just from her design, she already looks really good. Brown Dust 2 also has a really good story. Personally, I'm not really the type of player who gets invested in stories in the games that I play, but coming into this game, I actually tried to give it a chance. And wouldn't you know, I actually ended up liking the story a lot. Not to get into a lot of spoilers because I want you to experience the story yourself, but basically, you will be following the story of the main character who has special powers, and as you progress in the story, you will be slowly uncovering mysteries in the village, which is really interesting. Plus, on the topic of the story, this game actually has different stories that are integrated, so you have your main story and then you have your side quests, but the main thing I want to highlight is the presentation for this game. Because whenever you take a look at the different stories, each of them are presented in sort of this game cartridge style, which I think is a really good touch. It sort of doubles down in this sort of retro style that they're going for, and I think that they really did a good job on this. So now that I have shown you some of the characters, it's only right that I show you how to get them. And we are going to start off with how to get your first set of characters. Because when you first start the game, they will actually let you participate in something called an infinite draw, which is basically a 10 pull that you can infinitely reroll until you are satisfied with the 10 pull that you have. What I actually ended up getting is this one. So I went for this one because obviously I got a 5-star character, which is guaranteed, and I also got her signature weapon. So if anything, your main goal should be getting a 5-star character, plus their signature piece of equipment, so that your 5-star character has a pretty significant boost when you start out the game. It's also possible to get a 4-star character with their 4-star signature weapon, but going for that, plus a 5-star character with the signature weapon, can be very hard. So I would say that you don't need to stress much about the 4 stars, and you mainly want to focus on the 5-star character, plus the signature weapon. And then moving on, once you get characters, you will eventually use them in combat. So in this section, I'm gonna be explaining how the combat works in this game. So when it comes to combat, you can actually form a team of up to 5 characters. And each of the characters in the game has a normal attack, knockback, and up to 5 skills. Normal attacks are single target, and the character will attack the enemy depending on their range type. Each of the characters also has a knockback, which will displace or move the enemy to a different tile. The direction to which the enemy moves varies between the different characters. So some characters will simply just push the enemy away, some characters will push them to the left or right, and some characters can also push the enemies diagonally. So you will mainly be using this to position the enemies properly so that when your DPS characters use their abilities, most if not all of your enemies will be within the range of fire. But the only downside is that using this only deals 1 damage, so you kind of have to set up your strategy accordingly. And then of course, each of the characters also has abilities and skills. These are your standard abilities that deal damage to the enemies, apply effects, or even heal your allies. Each ability has their own effect, which is shown beside the ability icon. And whenever you use an ability, it will cost you SP or skill points, and you have a maximum of 20 skill points, but you only have 15 at the beginning of the fight. So this really plays into the strategy part of the game, where you have to manage your skill points properly. It's also good to know that your team will generate 1 skill point every time a character uses a normal attack or knockback. So once you enter the battle, you can position your team however you want on the field. So basically the character will be attacking the enemy on their opposite side. I also have this screenshot for the combat, and I labeled each one of them. So at the top right corner, you have their pause, and you also have the autoplay and speed up button, which is really useful whenever you're just fighting trash mobs, when you're doing dailies and exploring. And at the bottom right, you have your toggle view, which will basically flip the stage and change the perspective. So this view is the default, and this one is the alternative. So you can just go for whichever one that fits your preference. So moving on, let's talk about the character details, because this is also very important when it comes to your progression. So for this example, we have Yustia, who is actually a free 5-star character that you can get simply by progressing in the story. And as you can see, her current level is 34 out of 40, and she is currently 2 stars. And these stars are basically the character ascension, or basically the indicators for their maximum level. So that is pretty simple stuff. And then this one is an ability skill, which is basically used for exploration and interacting with different things. So ability skills can be used for cooking, finding hidden objects, reviving characters, even stealing items from NPCs, teleporting to a safe zone on the map, and much more. So this is a very useful part of the character's utility, but not all characters will actually have one. And whenever you use an ability skill, it will actually consume ability pills, and it's this one at the top of your screen. So moving on, let's talk about the costume tab. So how this works in this game is that costumes actually give your characters abilities. So the more costumes you have, the more abilities your character have. And for this one, we again have Yustia, and you can actually get this costume for free. So aside from her base ability, she will also be able to use this one. So the ability that comes with this costume, Lunar Halo Split, is an ability that will cost you 5 skill points, and it has a 5-turn cooldown. What this will do is it will attack 3 times, each of the attacks dealing true physical damage, plus it will also increase the light damage by 50% for 2 turns. But the most important thing to look at are these two. So for each of the abilities in the game, there's actually an area of effect that is displayed on the skill. And as you can see for this one, she will be attacking the enemies horizontally along 3 tiles. So that is very important to know so that you can set up your attacks properly. And for this one, this is the range type that I was talking about. So very front means that the character will attack the enemy at the very front of the enemy formation. Skip means that the character will attack the enemy second in line. And for some abilities like supports, they will actually be labeled as me, which means that the ability will apply to the character themselves. And you also have supportive abilities that will be labeled as ally, which means that it will be applied to your allies. So try to remember those types so that you have an idea on how the abilities works in this game. And then moving on, let's actually circle back to how to get characters in this game. And how this works is that you can actually recruit characters in the tavern. So in the tavern, a new character will actually appear every 2 hours. And recruiting the characters will give you a costume, or you will also get the character if you don't have them already. So if you already have the character, this is what it looks like. And then if you don't have the character yet, you will be getting the character plus their costume for the same cost. So whenever you're trying to recruit a character in the tavern, you need to use a specific type of contract depending on the character's rarity. So characters in the tavern can range from 3 stars, 4 stars, and even 5 stars. So you can really get lucky and end up getting a 5-star just from the tavern without even using the gacha. And one more thing is that you can actually refresh the characters whenever you want. And I think there is a limit, but the refresh cost is very cheap. So if you want to try and get 5 stars early on, it's actually not a bad idea to refresh the tavern instead of using those gems to pull on the banners. So you can think of that as a viable option. So yeah, that is pretty much everything I have for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to put it down in the comments below. And also, if you want to check out this game, I will probably have a link in the description below if you want to download this game for both Android and iOS. And as always, if you found this video useful, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.